Hello, creative and crafty people. I hope y'all are doing well today. With all these chilly temps that we in the Northern Hemisphere are experiencing, has got me thinking of warm and cozy things such as warm, toasty mugs of hot cocoa or hot mocha lattes. This was the inspiration for today's video. Today, I'm going to show you how I made these fun hug in a mug earrings. The fun thing about these earrings is that you can wear them just as they are, but with a bit of creativity, you can add beads or even resin to give them a different twist. But today, I'm just going to show you how to do them with just wire. The wire I'm using in this video is fine silver-plated copper wire with anti-tarnish coating, but you can use copper wire or whatever type of wire you'd like to use for your project. So as we get ready to create these earrings, remember, this is your creation and you get to create it the way you like. Each piece of jewelry is unique, just like us. We are all unique and created beautifully. If you'd like to learn how I created these fun earrings, then stick around and let's get creating.
My copper life, my copper dream, shaping the world with a copper gleam. Bend it, twist it from the heart, every creation a piece of art.
The materials you'll need are as follows. We'll need 2 pieces of 18 gauge wire cut at 14 centimeters in length. We'll need 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire cut at 4.5 centimeters in length. You'll need a pair of chain nose pliers, looping pliers, flush cutters, a chasing hammer, a bench block, and a cut burr. But you can also just use a file or a piece of sandpaper to get the same effect. If you didn't catch or you missed something in this materials list, you can either go back and rewatch this part of the video, or you can check out the materials list in the description down below. Now let's get started on this project. So to start, we're going to need those 2 pieces of 18 gauge wire cut at 14 centimeters in length and our looping pliers. We're going to need to make sure both those wires are even at the top. Grab them between the 2 and 3 millimeter barrels of the looping pliers. And we're going to wrap this wire around the 2 millimeter barrel of your looping pliers until the end of those wires meet back up with itself. And there you can see we got both wires with loops on the ends together there. And I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and we're going to start to make a little bend or a swirl at the end of this wire. So here you can see I'm pulling that loop around a little bit. And we're just going to do a little bit there. And now I'm going to grab the wire just on the bottom part of that teardrop shape of the loop. And we're going to make a little bend going away from that swirl to form our little handle of our coffee mug. Now we're going to grab where this wire, when we bend the wire, it will go even with that outside edge of the swirl there. So we're going to bend this wire up toward that swirl until it comes right up against it like that. And now we're going to grab just below the swirl. So I'm going to pull that away just a little bit so I can get my pliers in there. And just right at the bottom of that swirl, making sure we keep those wires together, we're going to make a 90-degree bend. And then we're going to curve that wire at the base of the mug to give it that round appearance. And now with my chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab about 1.2 millimeters from that last angle we've made and make another angle, 90-degree angle, going straight up. Making sure that bottom edge has a little bit of a curve to it. And now we're going to grab those 2 wires so that when we make our next bend, this wire is going to be even with the top edge of the little handle we made. And now I'm going to make about a 45-degree bend. And there my wires come apart. So I'm just going to do this one at a time. And I'm going to make a gentle curve to mimic the bottom curve, but this time going the opposite way. So instead of the smile, it's an upside down smile or a frown. And once you get both of those done, both pieces, I'm just going to adjust this little curve just to make it nice, a nice gentle curve with no bends or kinks. And then once you get it to where you want it, you're going to grab right about a millimeter from where the handle is on your mug and start bending the tail end of that wire back in the opposite direction, like I'm doing here. And I keep adjusting my pliers so that I can get a nice sharp point as much as I can there. And take note, the wire is coming behind my mug. And then I'm going to make a nice little smile to create the little round opening of our mug. And so we're going to do the same thing on the other side now, with that tail end of the wire coming over the top of the mug this time. We're going to grab that wire about a millimeter from the inside edge of where that handle is. And then we're going to bend that wire back the opposite direction. And we're going to make our last little adjustments to bring that wire back up. And there you could see both earrings. The little mugs have been made. So now we're going to create the little steam that's coming out of the top of the mug. So I'm going to grab this tail end of the wire and I'm going to bend it back over the top of the mug toward the other side. And then I'm going to make a little swirl here. So I'm just looping around while holding that top part of the mug together with my thumb. And there you can see I've made that little loop. And now I'm going to bend that back over so that the top part of this mug can be completed right up against the edge of the frame. And then I realize here that this little loop is not centered over the top of the mug. So I'm going to undo it a little bit and place that loop where I want to. I'm going to grab my looping pliers, and with the 3mm loop or mandrel, I'm going to create that loop, get that nice round loop there. And then the tail end of this wire needs to point off to the left side of my mug. And then with my 2mm mandrel, I'm going to grab to the right side of the tail end of that wire and make a 2mm loop. And then this wire is going to come all the way back to cross over itself. And then we're going to pull those pliers out, and you can see it's made like a little cursive L shape here. And then with my flush cutters, I'm going to flush cut the tail end of this wire. So the end of this wire is meeting back up to touch itself. With my chain nose pliers, I'm just going to push that wire down into place. And there you could see I've got my little steam coming out of the top of the mug. We're going to do the same exact thing with the other earring charm now. So we're going to bend that wire back over the top. And now with my looping pliers this time, instead of just doing it freehand, I'm going to grab right close to center of my mug and create that loop going down toward the mug, then coming back up above. Then we want the tail end of this wire to face off toward the left. Just a little bit. And then we're going to grab the 2mm mandrel here and wrap that wire around the 2mm mandrel to create that top little swirl or loop. until that wire comes back over and crosses itself. And then again with the flush cutters, we're going to flush cut the end of this wire where it meets back with itself. And there you can see we've got 2 mugs with steam coming out of the top of them. Now I'm going to grab my bench block and we're just going to hammer both of these pieces, and we're just going to give it a slight hammering, not very hard, just little taps, because some of those wires cross over themselves or over other wires, and so we don't want to hammer too hard or you're going to create a weak spot in your wire. So just a nice gentle tap, enough to kind of give a little flat surface on the wires that aren't crossing over. That way the light can reflect off those flat surfaces. And we're going to do the same thing on the other earring charm. And then you got to adjust everything because it does come apart a little bit in the hammering process. And there you could see that shine that comes off of those wires. Now we need to make our ear wires. So grabbing those 4.5 centimeter 20 gauge wires, we're going to place the ends of those wires to wrap around the 2 millimeter mandrel on our looping pliers. So the end of that wire comes all the way around to meet back up with itself. Pull those loops off of that mandrel, and we're going to place those loops right over the 7 millimeter mandrel. And with the tail end of the wire, we're going to wrap that around the 9 millimeter mandrel. We're going to bring that tail end all the way back around until it's about 5 millimeters away from the loop side. And there you can see we've got our basic shape of our ear wires. Now, keeping those ear wires together in the top edge level, we're going to grab our chain nose pliers and grab down about 2 millimeters from the end and make a little bend outward like that. And there you can see we've got our shape of the ear wires done. Now I'm going to go just a little bit further and grab my bench block, and I'm going to hammer the outside edge of these ear wires, the part that's in the front of the earlobe when you place them in your ears. I'm going to hammer out or flare out the metal on that edge just to give it a little extra interest. You don't have to do that. I like to do that because it just gives it a little extra flair. And then once I get these done, I'm going to grab my cut burr. And if you don't have a cut burr, you can use a file, a nail file, a piece of sandpaper, whatever you have to deburr the ends of these wires. So here I'm just twisting that cut burr around the end of this wire. And what that does is it takes the little burr off the edge of the wire so it's rounded over and nice and smooth so there's no jagged edge. And there you could see that completed ear wire. You could see that little flare on the outside edge. And now we're going to place our earring charms on our ear wires. So we're going to grab like this on our loop. We do not want to grab to the inside of this and pull it out. That will misshape your loop. So always grab from the side like this and then twist out toward the side. This keeps your loop the shape it needs to stay, that nice round shape. Grab your earring charm and place it on there with the front side facing you. And then close that loop back up the same way we opened it. And there you could see that charm on the ear wire. And now we're going to do the same thing with the other ear wire. Open it up to the side, grab your charm, place it on, and then close that loop back up. And here we have our completed hug in a mug earring set. Aren't those cute, y'all? And like I said at the beginning of the video, you can make these however you want. You can add resin to them. You can add beads to them. Make them yours. Have fun with them. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and I hope all you Northern Hemisphere people stay warm this winter season. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this project. All feedback is welcome. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you did like this video. This just lets YouTube know that you enjoyed my content, and in turn, YouTube will push these videos out to even more creative people like yourself. If you haven't already and you'd like to see more of my tutorials, then click that subscribe button. It's free, and by subscribing to my channel, you can be notified when a new tutorial is up for you guys to view. Thank you guys for your continued support. I sure do appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next Thursday.